The work we do at Derby Homes is not just about carrying out repairs and collecting rent. Through innovation and partnership, we are changing lives in the communities we serve. New ideas and efficient, customer-focused solutions are helping neighbourhoods, inspiring young people and helping those who need extra support.
We've been asked to be involved in producing an annual report, as we have to do every year, but I think it's going to be really good this year we're doing a video.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dennis.
And we can look at some of the achievements we've done all around the city. So now we'll finish this tea and then we'll travel on the road and go and see some of these wonderful things that we've done.
Shall we start off in some of the new buildings?
Yes.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Try some of those?
Let's
okay.
go.
Right.
The partnership between Derby City Council and Derby Homes is working really well. We have a joint set of priorities, and Derby Homes and the Council is trying to find ways of tackling some of our priority issues. And we work closely together to determine the issues which are concentrated in our minds, and we try to find agreed solutions to how some of those issues may be tackled.
Over the last year, Derby Homes have developed new homes across the city. Some of these have been new developments, and other projects have involved converting or adapting existing buildings. Wherever possible, our building developments are completed using Derby Homes' own in-house team and local subcontractors. By using local companies to complete the work, we are able to deliver each scheme more efficiently and cost-effectively, and any money spent on the project stays within the local economy. Louise May has lived in a Derby Homes property for many years, but has recently moved into a new build at Davis Close.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's all the room layouts. I love the room layouts. All open plan. It's modern. It's a really nice homely feel to it. The fact that myself and my daughter have now got our own space, which is really good. But the fact that my parents are just around the corner. We've got quite a lot of links with the community, which means that we haven't had to move away from anybody. We can still keep all of those links, and I work quite closely with the local school as well. I'm a school governor there and things, so that makes it so much easier to stay and keep all those links with everybody.
Habib is a Derby Homes tenant who lives in one of two new build properties on the site of a former car park in Normanton.
I'm really surprised, like I said, it's been well thought out. The bills are, they're not even huge to compare to where I used to live, and it just means that I can spend more money on my children and spend more money on other things, and it's just fantastic the way they've thought about everything on this property. Is just, I would recommend it to anyone. It's just great lifestyle and economic. I'm such a community person, and for me moving out to Normanton was going to be the hardest thing, coming back from having a really bad background, and my family is my community, and not being able to see them, and it would have been the hardest thing for not just me, my partner as well. So for us, the community is the key.
This year, many of our tenants, like many others across the country, have been feeling the effects of welfare reform and other benefit changes. Around 8% of Derby Homes tenants were affected by the under-occupancy charge, and 39 households were affected by the overall benefit cap. Derby Homes have continued to proactively work with our customers affected by these changes, offering budget advice and signposting them to other partner agencies to access support.
We know times are difficult for our tenants, and we are here to help with money advice and support for individuals around their own circumstances. For us, effective communication is key in terms of informing our tenants about the changes around welfare benefits. And what we've done is we've used a targeted approach with text messages, telephone calls, home visits, as well as working with the local radio station. So we've got a clear campaign of messages to inform our tenants about the welfare reform changes. We're going to continue to be proactive in our approach, effectively communicating with our tenants and providing support, whether this be through our surgeries, our pop-up shops, our targeted support to individuals and on estates. We'll continue to use social media to get the message across in terms of the support that we can provide through this difficult time with the benefit changes.
Philip Wallace was living in a 3-bed property and affected by the under-occupancy charge. Through Derby Home's targeted approach, Philip was supported to improve his financial situation and was helped to downsize to a bungalow.
Well, without Derby Homes, basically, I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have such a nice place either. And they've been brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant. And I can't really fault it.
Right then, Dennis, we're off to next.
Yeah, we're going to Bramblebrook. It's been really transformed, working with Derby Homes, working with Derby City Council, the councillors, and obviously a lot of volunteers, and quite a few of our contractors have contributed to it.
Yeah, I think our apprentices have done a really good job there as well, haven't they?
It's really been a transition of the place. It's actually usable now by the community.
A major community development project this year has been the transformation of Bramblebrook Community Centre on Stockbrook Street. The venue was in need of revitalising, and with support from a partnership group, a team of hard-working volunteers refurbished the centre and transformed its fortunes within 3 months. Bramblebrook Community Centre now has a cafe, a community nursery, and is used regularly by the local people.
Many years ago, this community centre was used really widely by the people that live in Stockbrook. But sadly, it did take a bit of a decline, and it was a really key priority for us as local councillors to want to see it reinvigorated. And we did that through the partnership with Derby Homes, who came in, brought in the expertise, pulled together what we really needed to make it a vibrant place for people to visit again. And I really think it's become a focal point of the community once again, which it always should have been. Clearly, all this wouldn't have been possible without the fantastic volunteers that we have at Bramblebrook. They've come from far and wide, and clearly the expertise that were brought in by Derby Homes in order to be able to garner support from the local community, create that buzz alongside the local councillors, has meant that volunteers have been flocking to come to Bramblebrook and help create that environment that they really wanted to be in for the wider community as well.
We pulled in a lot of favours, a lot of strings, and Derby Homes and Derby City Council were absolutely fantastic in giving us access to their contractors, and they came on board. They supplied goods free of charge, they supplied goods at a vastly reduced rate. They came in and actually gave up time and energy to help with the project. We had Derby Homes as apprentices, did a magnificent job. We had the Prince's Trust here, we had equipment from Build Base. I don't think there's any kind of businesses linked to Derby City Council or Derby Homes that we didn't have here at one point or another. It was just fantastic. You know, the community spirit, it was at Bramblebrook. It was all at Bramblebrook, and it made all of us kind of sit back and think, do you know what, community spirit isn't dead. You know, it's there, it's alive, it's well. You just need a group to kind of harness it and use it.
Within the cafe, we get volunteers coming in to help out in the cafe, be it local people or wider people from the Derby area. It's not just about what's going on in Stockbrook, it's about bringing people into the cafe, into the area, so people outside of Stockbrook Street, outside of the town area, kind of come in and volunteer their time as well.
Right, Mike, let's get off to Milestone House and see the good work that they're doing down there now. It's a real eye-opener. Let's go.
Right.
Derby Homes have relocated the single point of entry team to within housing options based at the council house. This move has released office space within Milestone House that is being converted into 7 additional bed spaces for homeless people. The conversion is being created by Derby Homes following a successful joint bid with Derby City Council's public health team.
One of the things that we've done, we've worked with our partners in public health, and partnerships being absolutely essential in this line of work. We submitted a bid to Public Health England for some capital money to refurbish some of the space within Milestone House, and within that refurbishment it was to create a further 7 bed spaces for people who had drug and to some extent alcohol dependencies. That then also gave us an opportunity and was included in the bid submission to include treatment provision coming in, which they do already, but with more frequency and the offer of a base for treatment provision to come in and work with that client group. So there are quite exciting times ahead with that, and that's obviously increased our bed space capacity by 7, so there's another 7 people that we can accommodate across the city, before, you know, and work with them on the treatment and the addictions and the social issues that they may have, and start them on that journey, you know, ultimately into their own accommodation, hopefully. Our work that we've done with providers across the city, and in particular the Padley Day Centre, led us to look at what was on offer health-wise to people who are homeless, and it's been an issue for many years in the city that the missing link in health provision has been dentistry. And trying to find a dentist, for you or I to find a dentist, it's difficult enough. For your homeless person, you know, I don't know what number you would increase that by, because as soon as you miss an appointment or you miss 2 appointments and you're struck off, well, for homeless people, their lives are invariably chaotic, and keeping a diary is not a priority or as simple for them.
Well, homeless people, we know, have very high dental needs, both in terms of dental decay and gum disease. The advantage of using a mobile unit is that it brings the service to the client, and so we're able to offer, or the service is able to offer an examination, preventive advice they need, but it can also offer some treatment services, and for some it may eventually act as a bridge into clinic-based services.
What's next then, Dennis?
We're going to visit the junior wardens because they've been doing some great work, so we're going to see some examples of their work.
Yeah, it's another really important thing for the annual report, all the excellent work that Derby Homes does for the young people, our tenants' children and people in the community.
And obviously we're hoping to use some of the young people in our youth board.
Oh yeah, the youth board, yes, that's starting to kick off, isn't it? And next year we should see the benefit of that good work.
I became a junior warden 3 years ago, and my friend told me about it, how she found it fun and interesting, how she met new people, so I thought I'd give it a try instead of sitting around all day. We did litter picking, different games and everything in the hall, cook it and pass it on, carry a bag holder, which was really fun to make. And we were doing loads of questionnaires and interviewing different people.
Derby Homes delivered a cook it and pass it on scheme to the junior wardens. This enabled the young people to gain new skills about how to cook a healthy and affordable meal. At the end of the session, each young person was given the ingredients to take home so they could cook it and pass it on to their family and friends.
I've done it twice, and one time we made spaghetti bolognese and the other time we made shepherd's pie. We were in the kitchen and we were told what safety hazards are in the kitchen and how to make it safely. And then when we finished it, we were in an area where we had houses with elderly people in them. So we shared out the shepherd's pie, went to the houses and asked if they would like some.
Yeah, so we did a lot of volunteering in relation to junior wardens. It was something that we got really excited about, passionate about.
There is a bigger picture that they're going to be pushed towards the progression of representing their area as a youth council. If we get them in early enough, start to show them that, okay, these little bits of skills that you're picking up all work towards you becoming this person who knows what they want to say, have the ability to, portray what they're thinking, then, this is the way forward. We're trying to pick them up and say 9 to 14 years old. By the time they get to 14 or 15, we'd aim to push them towards the council, the youth board, and they can represent their views, they can represent their peers, and they can represent their area and actually make things happen, make changes that are based around what they actually want, as opposed to, okay, let's say the people in positions of power envisage that they may want. So make them the actual person who's been the catalyst for change.
I was really quiet and wouldn't speak to people before I went to junior wardens, and then I've started speaking more confidently and speaking to different people. I became a young leader at Scouts and become a voice, went to Voice in Action through junior wardens, and then I've become Deputy Youth Mayor.
Here we are then, Dennis. Just tell me, why we're here.
Well, we've come to this, really, these two ladies have really got this community centre buzzing. It looks really impressive.
Right, I'd be interested to see that, Dennis.
And we can have a cup of tea and a cake.
Really? A cup of tea? Who'd have thought it?
Well, I think that actually it's made a difference to a lot of people. There's people that would have passed each other in the street. Now, a friend say hello. It's got people out the homes for the coffee mornings, the bingos, the trips, that wouldn't necessarily actually leave home, and everybody just enjoys it. Derby Homes have been absolutely brilliant. Everything we've asked for, like the dishwasher,
television,
yeah, freezer, bingo machines, extra cutlery, crockery. They've been everything we've asked for. They've supported us all the way.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, sort of you have a chat with the people in the community. They say it all. The fact that they keep coming every week, and the trips, the bingo, that says it all. The people keep coming. So we're doing something right, and Derby Homes are doing something right as well.
This year, Derby Homes installed superfast broadband in several of its community rooms. We then worked in partnership to provide training sessions to help digitally isolated residents get online. This has enabled some of our older customers to do some basic online shopping and discover new ways of staying in contact with their family and friends.
Well, until recently I didn't use it much at all, but my family went on holiday and I was left all on my own and panicking how I was going to cope, but they fit me up on Skype and on Facebook, and I saw them on holiday every day. Whatever they did, they filmed it and they put it on Skype. It was wonderful. So the week went Zoom, it went so quickly. It was wonderful. My little iPad, it's more to me than a telephone or anything, because you can play on it, you can play games on it, you can do just what you like. Well, it's a lifeline. I think it is anyway. You know, it's company, just for me. You know, when you're on your own, it really is. It's a comfort as well.
Now, Mike, it's time to go to the council house to talk to Brian Frisby about the pathway scheme. Let's go.
Right.
Derby Homes has been instrumental in delivering the Housing Pathway Initiative with Derby City Council. This project is to assist people with complex needs to move from residential care into their own homes.
In Derby, we have really too many people with a learning disability living in residential care. And as in many other places, we're trying to give people the opportunity to move out of care and to move into their own home. And as we say, to get a life, not a service. Now, social workers are really good at helping people to plan for the future, think about the life they want to lead, what kind of care and support they need, but they're not experts in housing. So the Housing Pathway has been bringing together social care staff, housing strategy staff and housing options staff through Derby Homes to help us work out how to support people to navigate the world of housing.
We was living on Addison Road in a 2-bed bungalow, and it was basically too small. We applied through my wife's social worker to Derby Homes for a bigger property. Phone call from Derby Homes: we think we've found you one, but it needs a lot of work. My wife's OT came down, the social workers came down, then we was invited down, to bring the wife in a wheelchair and some of her equipment, so they could sort out moving doors and stuff like that, so we could get her from room to room.
I've been in Derby for about 5 years now, and early on the Derby Homes Board invited me to talk to them about my role and asked me how they could support me in the work that I needed to do. And it was to say we really needed their help in working out how we support people to access ordinary housing. And they've really come through on that, really helpfully.
Before in the house, my wife actually slept in the living room. She's now got a bedroom, I've got a bed. I spent 3 years sleeping on the sofa. I've got a bed. We've got a living room that's a living room, a bedroom that's a bedroom, and we're more like a family. We can actually all sit in the same room.
Well, that was really well worth seeing, wasn't it, Dennis? Just seeing the impact we have on real people's lives.
It is, because probably people don't realise how much room a wheelchair takes up, so it's made a real difference.
And to talk to these people, it reminds us, well, really, why we're doing this job.
I agree, and this makes it all worthwhile.
Right.
So let's go back to the hub and have another cup of tea.
Oh, go on then, Dennis, if we must.